ਪ੍ਰੋਜੈਕਟ ਕ੍ਰੋਮ ਪੀਲ ਰੀਜਨਲ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਦੀ ਤਰਫ ਤੋਂ 10 ਇੰਡੀਵਿਜੂਅਲ ਅਰੈਸਟ ਕੀਤੇ ਗਏ ਹੈ, ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਕੋਲੋਂ ਆ ਮੇਰੇ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਜੋ ਆਰਮਸ ਐਮੂਨੇਸ਼ਨ ਡਰਗ ਐਂਡ ਕੈਸ਼ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਬਰਾਮਦ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ। ਸੋ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਲਾਅ ਇਨਫੋਰਸਮੈਂਟ ਏਜੰਸੀਜ਼ ਨੇ ਮਿਲ ਕੇ ਆ 10 ਇੰਡੀਵਿਜੂਅਲਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹੈ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਅਰੈਸਟ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੈ, ਚਾਰਜ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੈ। ਸਵਾਲ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਆ ਪਾਉਂਦਾ ਕਿ ਕੀ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਅਰੈਸਟ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਵਾਪਸ ਬੇਲ 'ਤੇ ਛੁੱਟ ਗਏ ਜਾਂ ਛੁੱਟ ਜਾਓਗੇ? ਆ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਡਾ ਸਵਾਲ ਇੱਥੇ ਹੈ। ਸੋ ਅਸੀਂ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਪੀਲ ਰੀਜਨ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਦੇ ਚੀਫ ਨਿਸ਼ ਦੁਰਿਆਪਾ ਨੇ ਕੀ ਕਿਹਾ ਇਹਦੇ ਉੱਪਰ, ਔਰ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਡਰਗ ਵੈਲਿਊ ਹੈ ਔਨ ਦ ਸਟਰੀਟ ਇਹਦੀ 1 ਮਿਲੀਅਨ ਦੀ ਵੈਲਿਊ ਹੈ, ਔਰ 71 ਫਾਇਰਆਰਮਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਕੈਚ ਕੀਤੇ ਗਏ ਹੈ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਦੀ ਤਰਫ ਤੋਂ। ਅਸੀਂ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਸਾਰੀ ਰਿਪੋਰਟ, ਔਰ ਸਵਾਲ ਫਿਰ ਉਹੀ ਉੱਠਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਕ੍ਰਿਮੀਨਲ ਕੋਡ ਦੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਚੇਂਜਸ ਹੋ ਚੁੱਕੀਆਂ, ਅਮੈਂਡਮੈਂਟਸ ਹੋ ਚੁੱਕੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਹੋਰ ਇਹਦੇ 'ਚ ਡਿਸਕਨੈਕਟ ਹੈ। ਚੇਅਰ ਨੈਂਡੋ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ ਪੀਲ ਰੀਜਨ ਦੇ ਚੇਅਰ ਹੈ ਨੈਂਡੋ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਵੀ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਇਸ ਮੁੱਦੇ 'ਤੇ।
Today we're announcing the results of Project Chrome, which is our joint forces investigation led by Peel Regional Police into the trafficking of firearms and drugs that is international based. And today we have revealed and visually shown 71 firearms, illegal firearms that were seized as a result of this investigation. 10 people charged and over $1 million in illegal drugs as well. This is a significant investigation because it represents one investigative team since September of 2023, and these firearms and drugs were destined for the streets here in Peel and the GTA, out of which we know that many of them come from the United States. So what this does represent is people that are not victimized, firearms not used in carjackings, home invasions, or any other offenses that we've seen that plague the community. And this takes an immense amount of resources from our police service and our other partnered agencies. But we're proud of the outcome, and we want Peel Region and Brampton and Mississauga to know that we are continued to be tough on crimes and apprehend those involved for the worst offenses in our community.
Good morning. This is Nitin Chopra from Prime Asia TV. Either the chief, deputy chief, or chair Nando can answer. Another great project, Project Chrome, another catch, and we really applaud our police law enforcement agencies, and especially including Peel Regional Police, for the great job in every investigation they do. And rightly said, as Chair Nando said, if police has the resources, they can do anything. But the question is, these 10 individuals, they are charged and arrested. Are they released also? Because when we put the question to a justice minister, he said already amendments were done in the criminal code. And in the previous investigations of the extortions, of the carjackings, we saw, and the biggest gold heist, all those criminals are enjoying their lavish life out. And the person who was arrested in US, he is behind the bars facing trial. So are these individuals out on the streets because they are dangerous? Are they out on the streets or they are behind the bars? Thank you.
I can say that as far as the bail hearings have gone, 7 of these individuals were held for bail hearings. 2 are still waiting for their bail hearing date, so they're in custody. 2 have been denied bail, and then the others have been granted bail.
We see in many of these cases, some of them, as Detective Sergeant Scott spoke to, kept in custody. Some do get released with conditions. This is a continual part of our efforts, as you know, here in Peel, along with our partners that are sitting here with us, have been very strong advocates for those involved in violent crime offenses, inclusive of firearms ones, to be treated differently than the broader segment of those brought before the courts. And we know that one person possessing a firearm one day is likely a victim another day, or the perpetrator of a firearms offense, and a small amount of people create the greatest number of harm. So, you know, behind the scenes, to your question, is these would be the offenses that we would advocate for, have the most serious impact on our community and need to be treated that way. This is a unified approach across the chiefs right across Ontario. But to your point, we do agree, and I know this government has been listening to some of our suggestions and proposals, but the court process needs to unfold to determine what the outcome is.
And I wanted to top that up as well. Thank you very much for your question, and you've mentioned it before. You know, it's got to be a tough job when you're enforcement and you do everything you do to achieve this, and then you find out a day later they're on the streets. As you know, it's been a topic of great discussion in the region of Peel and around my table. And I want to give a shout out to Mayor Brown of Brampton and one of my regional colleagues who's gone so far as to go to Ottawa and tell them something has to be done with this revolving door justice. You know, it sounds like a joke. We've talked about the problems with the car thefts. What actually happened here in our GTA jurisdiction? Some guy's up before a judge for having stolen a car, gets let off, and went into the parking lot of the courthouse and stole another car. You can't make this stuff up. And that's what gets people frustrated. But can you imagine what it does to our enforcement people that say, here we are doing what it takes, the countless hours, efforts, energy, risk, and then we find out it's a bit of a catch and release system. I must tell you, because you asked the question, I'm glad, it is top of mind concern for my council and our mayors that everybody involved from the federal government on down needs to have a cold, hard look at what it is when we allow people who are the perpetrators of crime to freely go out and the record shows commit more crime while they're waiting for a hearing date. Something's got to give there, and my heart goes out to the victims and to the people in uniform that say, they must want to beat their heads against the wall when they get home some nights and say, what is the point of this if I know these people are back out on the street? So thank you very much for your question. I know it is being reviewed in earnest, but we need stronger results on that file, especially from our federal partners. Thank you.
Chief, you once mentioned that we have the longest, largest undefended border with US. And we are in 21st century, we have US with us, the technology master. What suggestion you want to give to our CBSA or the federal government or any other government? How can we control, because our vehicles are going out, recent Peel Police report says 20 vehicles per day in this region. Still we are facing that issue. So vehicles are going out of the country, drugs and ammunitions are coming in. How can we protect our borders with the help of US agencies, because it's an undefended border? So what is the solution? We have drone technology, we have very big technology. What is the solution for that? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Nitin. You know, let me just paint the picture. You know, we here, as everybody would be aware, is aware of our federal regulatory system for prohibited and restricted firearms. But then if you look to our, you know, our brothers and sisters in the US, just across the border, to your point, you know, we have states that are moving to permitless concealed carry. So, you know, the polarization between the prevalence of firearms in the US, which clearly is, you know, a different environment, to where we are just as conducive to more firearms being here. As you can see, you know, some of them, especially when they're dismantled, are in very small you know, sizes. They can easily be concealed, whether it be through airmail, freight, vehicles, people walking across, or through the air. So it does pose a significant problem to us, and hence, you know, we know this is why we're seeing an increase right across Ontario and the GTA with the volume and presence of firearms. What I can tell you, though, is that these discussions are not new to the policing sector. In a nutshell, not just at the Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police, but the Ontario Association of Chiefs of Police, we've advocated for three strong spaces. One is to strengthen our capacity, just like this investigation demonstrated. The better we are able to work collaboratively with our U.S. partners, where they're supported, we are supported from information, funding and resources for cross-border strengthening, we can work our way backwards to where these firearms are coming from. That's one. The second is to ensure that here in Ontario, and this is a perfect example of it, that we continue to be supported with cross-municipality enforcement initiatives, joint forces initiatives. They're extremely critical, they're very expensive, time-consuming, and the investigators that we're utilizing for them are not just sitting around waiting, they're doing other duties here. So in order to support that, it does need continued support, which we were able to acknowledge through the province and CISO. That's a second piece. The third is ensuring that we get the proper formative legislative and regulatory reforms as it relates to firearms offenses. We do believe that needs to change, not just from the offenses themselves, but our ability to see the courts apply different penalties and judgments to that. So those are the three big spaces. They're the playbook, which we've been talking about, obviously may not solve the whole situation, but it's absolutely the right start.
We have CBSA officer with us, and the questions which you have, we will put in front of him. Officer, how tough it is to control our borders, because we have undefended border, as the chief also mentioned, and we have vehicles going out, we have drugs and ammunition coming in. What are the challenges in front of CBSA?
Well, I can tell you that the CBSA mandate is to protect our borders. Our CBSA officers, the Border Services officers at the port of entry, they work tirelessly to interdict firearms and contraband that you see before you here today at Project Chrome. Not only that, our mandate does not only end at the border, but it also comes inland. So we work with our police partners, our joint forces operations. As you saw, all the partners here today at Project Chrome, it really takes the partners coming together, working across jurisdictional lines, domestic and international, in order to combat organized crime.
Okay, but what are the challenges in front of CBSA? Because reason is arms and ammunition, drugs are not going from Canada to US because they have the protected borders. Arms, drugs, ammunitions are coming inside the Canada,
Yep.
and we have to protect our borders. Same way, our vehicles every day, 20 vehicles from Peel region are going out of other countries. So we have to scan the shipments. What are the challenges in front of CBSA, and what message you want to give to any level of the government that you need more resources, or CBSA has enough officers, or what are the challenges in that?
So I'm not going to speak to the political side, but I can speak to the operational. CBSA is investing continuously in our people, in technology, and most importantly, our partnerships. So the partnerships on both sides, if it's stolen vehicles, or it's firearms, or it's narcotics. But on the technology side, we're investing in better X-ray detection technology at our ports of entry, including our marine ports for stolen cars, and our people with training, with firearms, with canine officers at our ports of entry.
Officer, we have seen in Canada many times we lost our brave police officers on the line of duty, and we have seen many of those criminals were repeated offenders. And catch and release policy, the bail system here is so weak that every time we have seen those repeated offenders, they keep on doing the crimes. Now also, if someone is out on bail, he's a dangerous criminal. They can commit crime again, because for them, very easy to get these kind of ammunition from their circles. Why we release them on the bail? Any message from the law enforcement you want to give to the public, like how the CBSA officer or any officer feels when they see the same criminals again and again and catching them again and again?
Well, I know that Chief Nish with Peel Police addressed some of his concerns related to your question. From CBSA and the operational side, we are here to protect our borders, and if criminal organizations are going to operate in the space of moving narcotics and firearms into our communities, we're here to uphold that public safety and put our skilled investigators, intelligence officers, and analysts at the forefront to stop those shipments from coming across the border and investigate those who are responsible for organizing the smuggling of those goods.
So does CBSA officer have enough officers to control whole of the borders? Or
Sorry?
does CBSA has enough officers to control the borders, or they need more foot on the grounds in the CBSA?
So the CBSA is continuing to invest in its people, in training, in hiring, and that is always an ongoing initiative to bring on new officers. And we have a training center in Rigaud, Quebec, that we are continually putting people through that training.
So in recent years, we have seen that many criminals, like extortionists, they entered Canada. So in any way, they entered Canada, those criminals. Either in any form, they entered Canada. The question is public safety. So is the duty of the CBSA that to control the borders, not let any criminals get in, not get the drug in, not get our vehicles out of the country. That is the role of our border protective forces. So do you think, is there any kind of lackness on the CBSA front, or need more support from the government that we have to catch these criminals, those who entered Canada by this way or other way?
So again, CBSA, we protect Canada with screening goods and people coming into the country, and we put not only goods but people through a certain analysis of trying to weed out people that may come to Canada with criminal intentions, and we look to not let those people into the country. And when it comes to goods and firearms, the CBSA last year, we seized just under 900 firearms. We intercepted 27,000 prohibited weapons. And we continue to put our skilled investigators, intelligence officers, and analysts at the forefront to protect our borders.
September 2023, our Specialized Enforcement Bureau, in a joint investigative capacity with partners not just here in Ontario, but with U.S. law enforcement partners, started a probe in a local organized criminal network here in Peel, which eventually revealed ties to individuals involved in firearms and drugs trafficking from the United States. We have charged and arrested 10 individuals with a total of 185 criminal code offenses for the offenses of firearms trafficking, possession of firearms for the purposes of trafficking, and also drug trafficking. This is the largest number of firearms seized in a single investigation in Peel Regional Police history. Before you see 70 firearms along with ammunition. There is a total of about $1 million worth of illegal drugs. Illegal firearms in this community lead to other types of criminal offenses, which continue to plague our community, not just here in Peel, but right across the GTA and this province. They look like carjackings, home invasions, robberies, extortions, and the numerous shootings, as I mentioned to you earlier. The success of this investigation will mean that these firearms are not supporting all these ancillary crimes that affect our community.
In January 2023, Peel Regional Police received information regarding a local street gang that was actively involved in drug trafficking and firearms possession within the region of Peel. This investigation revealed that members of the gang had ties to individuals actively trafficking firearms throughout the Greater Toronto Area. Further investigation revealed the individuals involved in the firearms trafficking would obtain illegal firearms that had been transported from the United States and would be supplied to other individuals throughout the GTA. In September of 2023, Peel Regional Police Specialized Enforcement Bureau commenced the Joint Forces investigation dubbed Project Chrome. The aim of this project was to disrupt and dismantle the group and to stem the flow of illegal firearms to the streets of the Greater Toronto Area. Investigators liaised with U.S. Homeland Security Border Enforcement Task Force in Detroit, as well as the ATF, the Detroit Field Division, throughout the investigation to help identify the source of the illegal firearms. On June 18th, 2024, a series of coordinated search warrants and arrests took place across the GTA, southwestern Ontario, as well as in Detroit, Michigan. More than 100 officers from Peel Police, York, London, Hamilton, Halton, Durham, the OPP, Canada Border Services, as well as the ATF took part in this operation. Project Chrome has led to 18 search warrants being executed. To date, 10 individuals have been arrested and charged with 185 criminal charges. The following individuals have been arrested and charged with a series of firearms trafficking and drug trafficking offenses. 38-year-old Orlando Thomas from Brampton. 53-year-old Conrad Mullings from Toronto, who was unlawfully in Canada at the time of his arrest. 44-year-old Hamisi Stanley from London. 45-year-old Kevin Diaz from Hamilton. 30-year-old Jordan Richards from Thornhill. 45-year-old Omar Ranger from Toronto. 34-year-old Adam Kerr, also of Toronto. 53-year-old Garfield Morrison from Vaughan. 59-year-old Michael Bell from Mississauga, and 41-year-old Sheldon Stewart from Leamington. As a result of the project, investigators have seized the firearms you see here today as well as other items. A total of 71 firearms were seized, of which 67 were handguns and 4 were assault-style rifles. Approximately 180 rounds of ammunition were seized. Several prohibited extended magazines were seized, as well as 5.5 kilograms of cocaine and 1.5 kilograms of fentanyl. We also seized quantities of crack cocaine and Xanax bills, as well as $25,000 in Canadian and US currency. The estimated street value of the drugs seized was over $1 million. Some of the firearms in this investigation had their serial numbers removed. Firearm tracing has confirmed that 69 of the firearms were smuggled into Canada from the US. We believe the firearms seized in this investigation would have ultimately wound up in the hands of offenders to be used in shootings, carjackings, home invasions, and other acts of violence.
The seizures displayed here represent, on average in Peel, us seizing almost 1 illegal firearm per day. The reality is, access to illegal firearms has become too prevalent. The areas that you've heard discussed from the chief and from the investigative lead, things like carjackings, home invasions, extortions, they all require the tools that you see before you here today. And each one of these firearms and each one of the handguns or illegal firearms that we recover results in a person not being able to use that to target and victimize our community.
Today's announcement underscores the extraordinary power of partnerships and collaboration. The success of this investigation is a testament to what can be achieved when law enforcement agencies unite with a common purpose. This operation, which resulted in the largest seizure of illegal firearms in our service's history, would not have been possible without the tireless efforts and cooperation of our partners. And Graham, I got to tell you, I've been around a long time. I've worked with all governments. Never been a member of a political party. I'm just Nando. I work with whoever you bring me. But it is unprecedented, the support that the region of Peel and the service and enforcement and first responders have received from this government in Ontario. Last time the Premier was here, and you were here, Graham, it was to announce more support services for mental health for police officers. The Premier summons me regularly for one reason only. It's to discuss the ongoing plans to get a shovel in the ground for our PTSD Centre in Peel for all of Ontario. When our board was approached and our council was approached to domicile a place like that, to find it a home, Peel residents put up $70 million of land. And the Premier said, wonderful, Nando, leave it to us. And they will be building that $60 million PTSD center. Last time the chief and I spoke, we spoke about helicopters and other resources that we need from the provincial government, and we get them.
Project Chrome has resulted in the seizure of 71 firearms that we see before us, 67 handguns, 4 assault-style rifles. Each one of those was a gun that was on our streets before this investigation. Each one is one less weapon that can be used to commit crimes or harm innocent people. Part of the investigation was coming up with 1.5 kilograms of fentanyl, and it takes 2 milligrams of fentanyl to kill somebody. 1.5 kilograms of fentanyl, that's enough in theory to kill 750,000 people. That's the size of the city of Brampton, where I'm from. Investigations like this aren't possible unless we as a community and we as public figures give our police services the resources they need to do their jobs. And that's why in the last 2 years, the Ontario government has made strategic investments into the Peel Regional Police Service. And we're grateful to the Police Services Board for their investments, as well as making sure that resources are used effectively.